National technology writer Rod Chester reviews the iPhone 7 Plus and Apple's new AirPods. But not anymore, because this is the year that Apple has prompted me to switch camps. Despite my long-held opposition to phablet-sized phones, the iPhone 7 Plus makes an offer that can't be refused. Sure, there are reasons to be grumpy about the removal of the headphone jack with the iPhone 7 and 7 Plus, although as someone who already uses wireless headphones I'm not as grumpy as many. An adapter, even though it is included, is a stopgap measure, and the AirPods, Apple's distinctive tiny wireless earpods, have adjustment issues with both fit and functionality. At the launch last week, Apple listed 10 reasons to like the new iPhone. We're focused on just one, but we like that one thing a lot: the camera. Undeniably, the headline feature in the new iPhone is the camera, and specifically, the main headline is the dual-lens camera on the iPhone 7 Plus. This is not the first smartphone to offer a dual-lens camera, but, as is often the case, while Apple is not first, it has come to market with a product that sets the benchmark. Since Apple stepped up to the phablet market 2 years ago, the choice between the two flagship iPhones has been more or less one of preference of size. Yes, the iPhone 6s Plus offered optical image stabilization, which the iPhone 6s did not, and a longer battery life. But those features were not typically enough to force those who preferred the smaller form factor to go big. But with this version of the iPhone, the differences are stark. The camera in the iPhone 7 has been given a revamp over the previous model, with a totally new camera. Apple has taken some of that space it saves by dumping the headphone jack, and more on that later, and put optical image stabilization into the iPhone 7. There is a wider aperture, a new sensor, a better flash, and the promotion for the front-facing camera from 5 megapixels to 7 megapixels produces far better images when you're shooting selfies. It's easy to dismiss each new iPhone as, in many ways, a combination of small improvements, but consider this: most people upgrade their phone every 18 months to 2 years. So they will be going from the iPhone 6 with a 8-megapixel rear camera and 1.2 megapixel front-facing camera to the iPhone 7 with a 12-megapixel rear camera, or 2, in the case of the 7 Plus, and a 7-megapixel front-facing camera. That's not a small step, but quite a jump. If you buy the iPhone 7, particularly as an upgrade from a 2-year-old iPhone 6, you're going to be impressed with the 12-megapixel camera with f1.8 aperture and 5x digital zoom. But if you buy an iPhone 7, then you are likely to be jealous of anyone who buys the iPhone 7 Plus, with two 12-megapixel cameras, a f1.8 wide-angle, equivalent to 28mm, and f2.8 telephoto, equivalent to 56mm. and a 10x digital zoom. There is another advantage the 7 Plus has, or at least will have. Apple could not get the feature ready for launch, and it will be added through a software update. But test shots show the potential of the portrait feature, which with face recognition technology, will keep the person sharp and the background blurred. We can't testify to the effectiveness of the portrait feature in real-life use because it was not available to review yet, but the test shots are convincing and the technique makes sense. Rather than just uniformly blur everything but the face like a bad Photoshop job, which is how some apps have tried to mimic depth of field, the software sets blur based on the distance of the background behind the person, just as true depth of field works. It looks impressive, but we'll hold judgment for now. What we're willing to declare a winner is the 2x optical zoom. This is a game changer when it comes to smartphone photography. Already the iPhone is the world's most popular camera. It's only going to become more popular thanks to this extra lens, and many more people will be content with this smartphone as their only camera because now the camera in your pocket has a real optical zoom. The camera's ability in low light is very impressive, and shooting close-ups with the 2x telephoto gave a naturally shallow depth of field. Digital zoom always results in image degradation. Apple's digital zoom that extends the iPhone 7 Plus camera past 2x and up to 10x is a good digital zoom, but the results can be mixed. In good light, there can be little noticeable drop in image quality at 4x, but from then on you have to accept a compromise. Still, on many occasions, people will use the 10x zoom and be happy with the results. If there is something to complain about with the iPhone 7 camera, it is that the 2-lens model does not fit into the smaller phone. The camera in the iPhone 7 is good, but the camera in the iPhone 7 Plus is so much better. Color. The iPhone 7 Plus comes in 5 colors, or rather 3 colors plus one more color repeated. There is silver, gold, rose gold, black and jet black. Jet black is blacker than black, literally in this case, and is produced by a classic Apple attention to detail in a mechanical process that was explained at the iPhone launch with the Johnny Ives narration. The jet black phone, out of the box, looks stunning, but it's also likely to show fingerprints and more likely to show scratches. So you're probably going to want to keep it in a case, which to my mind defeats the purpose. If you don't want jet black, then you will have to skip the low-end 32GB option and go for 128GB or 256GB. Water resistan. For years, everyone from technology reviewers to the poor sod who drops his phone in the loo has called for Apple to make the iPhone able to survive a dunking. At last, that call has been heard, and this is the first official water-resistant iPhone. After Apple kept quiet about improved water resistance in the iPhone 6s. It has an IP67 rating, which means it is protected from immersion in liquid to a depth of 1 meter for 30 minutes. If you happen to fall in the pool, or spill a cuppa over your phone, this iPhone will survive. But don't take it for a swim on purpose. Apple says it's not designed for that sort of water exposure, and keep it away from salt water. If it does get wet, Apple advises wiping it with a dry cloth and ensuring it is totally dry before opening the SIM tray and leaving it at least 5 hours before charging it. Don't try to blow dry because it won't like the heat. And don't shove something into the lightning port to dry because the folk at the Apple Genius Bar won't like that if something goes wrong. In the past 5 days, we've put the iPhone 7 Plus under a running tap, taken it into the shower to listen to Napoleonic War audiobooks, and, yes, dunked it underwater. It's survived, as it should. The best part of having a water-resistant iPhone is not having to worry about it when the phone is near water. It's worth noting that knocks and bumps of everyday life could affect the seals inside the phone, and dropping it on the ground could mean your water-resistant iPhone isn't water-resistant anymore. Specification. With each iPhone, there is naturally an improvement in performance. This time at the chip powering the iPhone is the A10 Fusion, which will mean nothing to most iPhone users. All it has to mean to you is that this is the fastest iPhone by a long shot, with the longest battery life, while the screen is up to 25% brighter and has a wider color gamut. The home button takes some getting used to because instead of a physical button it is a solid bit of glass with a taptic engine that gives the sensation of movement. That haptic feedback is extended beyond the home button, and the new wave of apps made for the iPhone 7 and 7 Plus is set to exploit that ability. Like the iPhone 6s, the iPhone 7 has 3D Touch, which gives an quick